Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Dais, a podcast about the stories taking place in and around El Paso County, Colorado. I'm your host, Scott Anderson, and today I get to be joined by Jeannie Porter, the Director of Development for Cheyenne Village. How are you doing today, Jeannie?
I'm doing great, Scott, and thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Before we get started, though, I want to quickly add that if listeners are interested in more stories about people doing good in and around El Paso County, or hearing from county leadership about local government priorities and how they operate, you can find additional episodes of this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But to get into things, Jeannie, I was wondering if you could share some background about yourself and how you came to be associated with Cheyenne Village.
Oh, certainly. I am actually a native of Colorado Springs, one of the few, and I've been in the nonprofit sector for, nearly 40 years now. And 17 years ago, this opportunity at Cheyenne Village became available, and through one of the board members at Cheyenne Village, I went and interviewed for the development job and actually got it, and I've been with Cheyenne Village 17 years now.
Oh, that's incredible. I found that once people find, in the nonprofit world at least, once people find that place that like speaks to them, then that's where they are, right? They stick around. So that's really cool. So can you share some background about Cheyenne Village itself and what the main mission of the organization is?
So Cheyenne Village started in 1971. By a woman named Peggy Marshall. She was married to the then mayor of Colorado Springs, Andrew Marshall. Peggy and Andrew had a daughter, Ellen, who was emerging into adulthood and had a developmental disability, or an intellectual and developmental disability, which I'll refer to as IDD in the future.
Okay.
And Ellen, really the only options for individuals with IDD in the late 60s, early 70s was to be placed into a state-run, we call it the regional center now, but it was an institution, or living at home with family caregivers, or put into a nursing home, or even homeless. There just weren't very many options for individuals with IDD to be part of the community, to live independently, or to really live happy lives. So Peggy did an amazing amount of research really around the world to see if there were programs to help individuals emerging into adulthood, to help them fulfill their dreams, their hopes, and live happy lives. So Peggy and a group of parents who also had adult children with intellectual and developmental disabilities opened McLaughlin Lodge, which for some of the listeners out there who have been in town a long time might remember McLaughlin Lodge. It's up in Manitou Springs off of Crystal Park Road, right across the street from Crystal Park Cantina, which used to be Mission Bell. And that was the first kind of campus for Cheyenne Village. And we brought 12 people up from the Pueblo Regional Center who, with the help of our staff, helped teach them skills to actually run the lodge. It was one of those kind of typical Manitou lodges for, church retreats, family retreats, those kinds of things. And so they checked people in, they cleaned rooms, they cooked, they maintained the lawn, and they learned skills how to work and how to live independently.
Right. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And our mission, which was really hasn't changed, is to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to lead happy, healthy, and fulfilling lives.
I mean, that sounds wonderful. Obviously, you've been there for 17 years, so clearly it's something you support and you get behind. So approximately at this point, how many people does Cheyenne Village serve, and what communities do you serve?
Approximately 400 individuals. It varies with each program, of course. And we're primarily El Paso County. We do have a smattering in Teller, but it's mainly El Paso County. And our services are quite vast. Mainly what we provide is residential services to the individuals we serve, but we do a lot more than that. But an example of the residential supports that we help our people with is we have a group home with 24/7 waking staff, and that particular home is for people who really need a high level of support, a high level of care. So that would be called lower functioning. And then we have very high functioning people who have jobs who actually live in their own apartments. And our people will just go in and check with them, maybe do some grocery shopping, help them with their finances, just kind of whatever they need. We also provide transportation for people to go to doctor's appointments or their jobs or recreational activities. So it's really day to day, but it's really helping them place them in the appropriate housing where they can live as independently as they possibly can. And that runs the gamut.
Very good. And then can you talk about how important it is for the organization to be viewed as a place that people can turn to in their time of need? I think if I'm thinking as a parent myself, I don't have any children that are in the adult range yet, but it's certainly something where I wouldn't know where to go for help. How does it feel to be that place that people can go to when people are looking for that help?
Well, it feels wonderful. And I'm actually going to mention another organization who Cheyenne Village does collaborate with. It's called the Resource Exchange. And for families who do have an emerging adult with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they really need to reach out to the Resource Exchange to enroll for benefits that their loved one could be entitled to, such as the Medicaid waiver, or SSDI, social services, disability insurance, SSI. There's just a variety of benefits that the Resource Exchange can help maneuver them through, and we can help as well. But we are also on kind of their list of, once they determine what help that individual needs, and if they do want to live out on their own, we are probably the largest agency providing that type of service. So they would, say, well, Cheyenne Village is an option that you can look at. And then the families are kind of given a list, and they interview and go to different places and then decide. But they can also call us directly, and we'll certainly guide them through what process they need to go through to get the care for their loved one that the loved one needs. We'll certainly help them maneuver the system, because it's a pretty complicated one. It's complex.
Yeah, well, I feel like any system is complex.
Yes,
Not too many that are
very
too straightforward. So after submitting your grant request to the county, Cheyenne Village was awarded $60,000 of ARPA funding. Can you talk about what that money has gone to fund specifically?
Oh, absolutely. I wish it could sound more glamorous, but the healthcare, all industries, and particularly the healthcare industry, long-term healthcare and just care for elderly individuals, of which we do care for some elderly individuals as well. Really got hit hard during COVID, and we had people who were just fearful of being exposed. So we lost a lot of staff, and then people just really, we just couldn't find replacements, and we've never really encountered that before. So we had a tremendous amount of overtime for the staff who did stay, and the ARPA funding went to, pay for those individuals to put in the overtime that was needed to care for the individuals we serve, because obviously we can't leave them alone. So that was where the money went. And it was a lifeline for us. It really was. And
is that something where you guys have been able to recover a little bit from that, and now you don't have to worry about that as much?
Yes, it's gotten better slowly but surely. It was obviously really bad in 2021, 2020, 2021, and still we started to recover in 2022, and now we're back to full staff.
Back to a more comfortable level.
Back to it, yes. Very well put. Very well put.
Well, and, that's, I had the opportunity, this was about a year ago at this point now, to speak with some representatives from UCCS. They talked about their JAWS program. And in part of that, we also spoke with someone who was, I believe, a program director at a long-term care facility. And, she also talked about how hard hit that sector was. And at that point, a year ago, they were still trying to recover from it, but the ARPA funding, helped kind of bridge the gap for them as well. But, just hearing that this was not a problem that was very specific to like one organization. This was a widespread problem. And so when something like ARPA funding comes available, when it can be used to help sectors of industry like long-term care, kind of bridge that gap. It just makes it seem that much more valuable to me. So that's really great to hear that it did its job and got you through that difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what would have. I mean, luckily for Cheyenne Village, we are financially stable, but we would have had to dip into reserves in order to pay for the overtime, and ARPA saved us from having to do that. Yeah. So we were literally jumping up and down when we realized that we received the ARPA funding.
Yeah, no, that's so good to hear, and I think really great for other people to hear because, I think. COVID was difficult for everybody, right? Like regardless of if you were impacted specifically or, maybe, just the situation that the country was in because of it, right? Like everyone was impacted in some way. But I think it's really nice for people to hear, that good things came out of it in a way. Because, you go through trials and you go through these difficult times, and if you make it to the other side, it strengthens you, right? And I'm sure at this point, and, again, I've spoken with a lot of organizations about this, but now there are plans in place. Like, hey, if this happens again, like this is what we have prepared for it, right? And, heaven forbid it happen again, right? Like, let's not go down that road. But if it does, I think a number of organizations all around the region are more prepared if something like that were to happen. So I'm sure much the same can be said for Cheyenne Village.
Well, absolutely. As a matter of fact, as you mentioned that, I'm thinking because we used to track overtime, but now we really track overtime and we budget for overtime now, which is not something we really put a huge priority on in the past because we had some, of course, everybody has some, right? But we didn't have it to the degree that we did during this employment crisis. But now we track it very carefully, and we have a kind of a safety net for that very purpose.
Oh, that's great. So earlier you mentioned the Resource Exchange as a partner that you guys collaborate with. Can you talk about some of the other organizations in the area that you work with to benefit the programs that you guys use?
Oh, certainly. Well, some of the organizations actually and the individuals we serve just love volunteering. So we have partnered with the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, Silver Key Meals on Wheels. So in that particular case, an individual we serve will ride along with a driver who's delivering meals, and our folks will go up to the door and ring the doorbell and deliver the meals to the individuals receiving them. And
that's great.
And it's really fun. So those are just a couple of examples.
Oh, and you know what? That's really cool. I have not yet. God, now I'm trying to think. I have not yet heard of doing collaboration in that kind of way from another nonprofit organization. Like it's actually great to hear, like you are not collaborating with them to like necessarily bolster your programs, but instead use it to bolster theirs. And that's really great. I like hearing that. That's really cool. So is there a personal story you can share that would kind of help demonstrate the work that you guys do there at Cheyenne Village?
Absolutely. First I'll talk about kind of a general commitment, if you will. I will get to your question. But when Cheyenne Village was founded, our founder, Peggy Marshall, it was very important to her for Cheyenne Village to promise a family, because really what is most concerning for parents who have a son or daughter with an intellectual and developmental disability, it's what's going to happen when we're gone, or when one of us is gone and the other one isn't able to care for our loved one. What's going to happen? And Cheyenne Village makes the commitment to these parents that we will be here to care for your loved one throughout their adult lifespan. So we actually collaborate with Pikes Peak Hospice so that the individuals we serve, and I would say in most cases, they can pass in place. Because, it would be even more traumatic for someone with IDD to be transported from their home to a hospital. So hospice has been just amazing with us to help us, when that happens. Yeah. But so when I talk about the adult lifespan, someone may come to us, let's just say, for example, out of the regional center in Pueblo, who just doesn't have a lot of skills because they just haven't been taught a lot of skills. Sure. So we have a personal plan and so forth, and we set goals along with the individual and the families. And then this person might start off in a group home where they're basically monitored and supported 24/7, but then they might grow to be as independent to live in their own apartment. And then as they age, when I say across the adult lifespan, as we all are getting older, we have health issues.
I don't like to think about that.
No, I don't either. But, age-related health issues and dementia and so forth start to happen. And so we can also accommodate that individual to have, again, more care. So it's kind of like a bell curve, if you will. But one example in particular, getting back to your question, sorry to be so wordy, is there's a gentleman who we have served since 2015, and he was homeless and landed in the El Paso County Jail. And the El Paso County Jail called the Resource Exchange, who called Cheyenne Village and said, can you care? Can you take him? Can you, are you able to do this? And we said yes. And we took this gentleman in and helped to train him and, worked with doctors to get his medication levels correct. And because he needed medication, and obviously being homeless and in jail, he wasn't on his medication. And so we got his medication regulated, and he, fast forward to today, he has his own apartment. He rides his bike all over town, but he just got his driver's license, and he is on our board of directors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We always have an individual we serve on our board of directors, but this gentleman has just come so far from where he was in 2015, and that's really one of our success stories. I could share others, but I won't. That's a one that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, no, God, that is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. So, are there any other programs that Cheyenne Village offers that you feel would be important for listeners to know about? Something we haven't talked about yet.
Absolutely, we have a group respite program, which is a Saturday program for individuals who still be living at home. They can come to Cheyenne Village every Saturday. I think it's about a 6-hour program. So someone will drop them off at Cheyenne Village for every Saturday. So it's respite for the family member, and it's fun and socialization. It's socializing for the individual to be around peers, and they just do fun stuff. Arts and crafts, or they go, to the zoo, or they go horseback riding, or maybe they go down to Pueblo and rent a pontoon boat, or, those kinds of things. So it's purely recreational, and it's every Saturday. So, people can call Cheyenne Village and ask for more information about that program. And then we also, this is really more for our clients, but we do our day program is really a community-based program where we take the individuals we serve out into the community. Like I said, Meals on Wheels, or it may be also health related. We have group passes to the YMCA. A lot of our folks like to swim, so they'll either do swim classes or just get out there and paddle around.
Yeah.
And we also have what's called supported living services, and this is staff assistance for people who are living with a family caregiver or on their own but have no support. We will support in those situations as well. Again, it's called Supported Living Services, and we have staff who can go out to homes to help with whatever's needed, whether it's some kind of education or healthcare or homemaking or just kind of whatever's needed.
So for those who may be seeking services, how can they go about obtaining those services from Cheyenne Village?
They could call 719-592-0200. And just when the receptionist will answer the phone, and you can just ask her, I'm interested in obtaining services from Cheyenne Village, and she will put you in touch with the right person.
Very good. Well, that makes it sound plenty.
Kind of the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, hey.
Or they could certainly go to our website, which is www.cheyennevillage.org.
And then for people who want to get involved, you said there are some volunteer opportunities there at Cheyenne Village. How can they best help, and how do they go about volunteering with you guys?
Well, oh boy, there are a variety of ways. Most of the volunteers, we have a smattering of volunteers who work directly with clients, or with the individuals we serve. But the real need is for an individual who might be wanting to volunteer. We have a volunteer board of directors, so they could certainly, inquire about being on our board of directors. We have several committees. We have a personnel committee, a fund development committee, an executive committee. We have different volunteer opportunities we do 2 parties a year for the individuals we serve, their families, our staff, and donors. One is a summer barbecue that we do at Bear Creek Park, usually in June, and we always need people just to kind of help, maybe serve food or serve lemonade and that kind of thing. And then we do a holiday party each December. Same thing for the individuals we serve, their families, staff. And again, just kind of need volunteers to come help. And that's a really fun one because we have a DJ and a photo booth. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the volunteers, and I do have to plug Colorado Springs Utilities because they have sent volunteers for years out for these events twice a year, and they've just been wonderful. But at the holiday party, people can go out and dance with our clients because the clients or individuals we serve, I know I use the word both ways, but they absolutely love music, love to dance.
That's awesome.
It's really fun. They'll do a conga line, and they'll do the YMCA, and all that.
Yeah, that's great. So we've been able to cover a lot of ground here today, but I was just wondering if there's anything else you want to add before we close.
I just really want to thank our community. Honestly, this is even today a hidden population, and we've had such support with our volunteers and our donor base, and I'm so grateful because we have such a loyal base of support that come back year after year, and they just have faith in us, and we just the government funding that provides, the basic services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities as a nonprofit, it's just not enough funding to provide the services that we like to provide, which are over and above what Medicaid provides. So we are just so grateful that we can fill the gap through donations to provide the services that we do provide. So thank you, Colorado Springs.
That's great. Well, thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate you taking the time today and for all the work that you do there at Cheyenne Village. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. If you are interested in listening to additional episodes of Beyond the Dais, be sure to look for us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.